guys, good afternoon. Thank you so much for clicking on my buyer guide video. My name is Carolina Cognetta. I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Florida, and I am going to walk you through some steps to simplify the buyer process. Okay, step number one is hiring the right agent. Why is this so important? Well, the reason it's important is because you are going to spend a lot of time with that person, whomever you decide to hire. Hopefully that'll be me, but that is actually very important. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with the individual, that all your questions are being answered, that that person has experience, that they have a team behind them to help them throughout the process. And speaking of team, I can assure you that I have aligned myself with an awesome brokerage. Within my brokerage, we actually have a title company, we have an insurance company. Alongside with my broker and that team of people, I also hire a transaction coordinator who is another licensed real estate agent once we're under contract. And the reason that's going to become very important is because we are going to make sure that you are fully compliant and that your deposits, your escrow, your monies are fully protected. But more for that at a later time. So step one is hiring the right agent. Step number two is getting pre-approved. Getting pre-approved is highly important. This really has everything to do with your finances and your capacity to purchase a house and what that price is going to be. Aligning yourself with a lender that has a proven track record is also very important. I actually have a list of lenders that I work with that I can highly recommend, or if you have a bank that you already have in place, that's also fantastic, but that would be step number two. You want to make sure you know what your budget is before we start shopping. Step number three is perhaps one of the most exciting steps. This is when you're actually starting to shop for the home. Along with that process, I'm going to set you up with some automation where you're going to start getting some houses that fit your criteria. That criteria, which will include, how many bedrooms you need, how many bathrooms you need, location, all of the things that you envision yourself with that perfect home. That is what we're going to try and get you set up with, so that once you start receiving these homes electronically, you can click the little heart and we know which ones you want to go and tour. Step number four is actually touring the properties. That is another whole step in itself. Touring the properties is not just opening up the door. It really involves us getting some information about the homes that we're touring, such as like the age of the roof, the components of the air conditioning, the age of the AC. We want to read the seller's property disclosure. So there's also a little bit of investigation that goes on during that process, because the goal is, if you really, really love a home and you want to put an offer, you want to be very well informed as to the conditions of that home prior to even putting in the offer. All right, step number five is submitting the offer. This is the part where I really get fully immersed and involved. Right now, there are 13 pages on the as-is contract. We're going to review all the pages, all of the terms. We're going to make sure that you understand what you're signing, and we're going to be submitting the offer. We're going to put our best foot forward to that seller. We're going to present that seller and that seller agent with a very nice proposal with our offer and all of the other documents that have to be signed. It's going to be a very complete offer. And then we sit and we wait. Once we get that amazing news that our offer has been accepted, this is our time to actually submit escrow. Basically, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be submitting a good faith deposit based on the terms that we submitted in the contract. Okay. Now, after you submit escrow, we are going to get busy and we're going to call an inspection company because we want to definitely have the home inspected. I also align myself with some amazing inspection companies that I can recommend, or if you have your own as well, no problem. We can use your person. But the important part about this is we're really going to get into the house. The inspector that we're going to be working with is going to look at all the components, which include the four main ones are the plumbing, the electrical, the roof, and the AC. Want to make sure that they're in good standing, they're working well, so that when you finally decide, okay, I want to move, I want to definitely continue with the purchase of this house, we can move on to the next phase of the contract. Once we get through the inspection period, we are doing the financing period. This is the part where the bank is working behind the scenes. They're making sure that all your conditions on your loan are being met so that we can get to the clear to close. After you do the financing piece, which is really nothing for you to do because you've done all of that in the front end, it's your lender doing all that in the back end for you. They're also going to go ahead and call an appraisal company to come and do a home value on that property. before a bank lends you the money to purchase a house, they want to make sure that that house is actually worth what your, offer states it is worth. So hopefully the house will appraise at value. And if it doesn't, then we would be able to negotiate some terms with the seller. But the home financing part goes along with the appraisal part. The appraisal is like a second inspection, not as detailed. It's more about pulling the comps in the area and making sure that that house is not overpriced, that you are actually going to be paying the right price for the house. So that's a very important piece for the buyer. Now, after you get through that part, and let's say the home appraises at value, we are basically now waiting for the clear to close. Once we hear the clear to close from the lender, that is an amazing clear to close, really 3 little words, because now we know that that house is going to be yours, the bank is going to lend you the money, and we're going to be making preparations with the title company for the closing, to set up the closing. And you and I are going to be doing the final walkthrough. You get one other opportunity to go back into the house that you're purchasing. We're going to walk through it, make sure everything is in place the same way that we saw it when we first toured the property. And then we get to go to the title company and we get to have our closing. That is truly, prior to the closing, we're going to be reviewing what's called an ALTA statement. That is a financial statement that will break down all of the charges, the numbers, how much you're paying for the house, how much deposit you provided, what is due at closing as far as your financial responsibility, and what is due from the bank's financial responsibility. Now, if you're purchasing a house cash, it's a little bit different, because with cash, a closing can be as short as, I would say, 2 to maybe 14 to 20 days, where with a finance loan, it's going to take about 30 to 35 business days in order to get to the closing table. And then, of course, last but not least, closing time. And moving day. This is when we go to the title company, we sit down, you sign all sorts of paperwork. Everything will be explained to you even prior to getting to the title company. And then, of course, you are handed your keys. Anyways, guys, so that is it. That is a very brief and fast explanation as to a buyer's roadmap. It is very important for you to align yourself with an agent that has experience, that has the skill set, that aligns themselves with the right companies in order to make your dreams come true. So please take a look at this video, share the buyer's guide with friends and family, and I would love the opportunity to work with you and your family on purchasing your future home. All right, guys, thanks again. I'm Carolina Cagnetta, and my direct number is 954-707-0656. Yo también hablo español y bueno, llámame si necesitas ayuda para comprar tu casa. Bye, guys.